Were you not expecting me? I thought I ordered purple.
Wow, that's not the Thor that I ordered, but man, that would be cool if it was delivered like that. But we are today going to do the first 24 hours with the purple Pro Thor that we ordered. Now, the Thor is a dual screen handheld that has everybody excited because it's close in size to the original Nintendo DSi XL, and it can play 3DS. It has a pretty good chip in it, a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, the same Snapdragon we've been seeing in Odin products all the way back to the Odin 2. So we're going to take a look at my first 24 hours, what I thought about it. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot of great videos, but I wanted to give you just my viewpoint on this awesome Purple Max and let you know what I discovered, what I found to be problematic, and what I thought it was as somebody who just wants to pick it up and play. Is it really that device? Remember to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode of our content. But anyway, let's dive in and go see how this Thor handles itself. Okay, so for my US viewers who are, as like most of us, very confused about every day to day, whether we're going to pay tariffs or not, I did want to start out by saying that I ordered this unit. It's not a review unit. This is my personal unit that I ordered. I ordered right as soon as the campaign went live, and I chose the DHL option. At the time that I ordered back in August, things were still crazy, and it looked like DHL was charging tariffs no matter what. So I took a risk because for me, DHL has always delivered in a timely manner, in a good manner, a secure manner. So I just want to say, as of the filming of this video, I did not have to pay any additional tariffs. I don't know if this means that AYN somehow avoided them or prepaid them. It was in the cost. But just know that if you're watching this and you're in the US, it doesn't mean that it won't happen to you. The problem is really nobody knows. So, if you're willing to take a chance, you might be able to get away with DHL not charging, or you might. I wish I had some better advice, but I just wanted to give that piece of information. But let's start with the unboxing as always and take a look at it. When Retroid announced and launched the Flip 2, the first thing that came to mind was, can we get this with dual screens like the 3DS or 2DS? And it's not surprising that we would seek something like that. The original 3DS XL, the new one especially with the IPS screens, has been one of my most favorite devices, this device right here. But I've always wanted to be able to properly play emulated, adding shaders, save states, all that great stuff that you can do with emulation. So I thought maybe Retroid might do it, but I should have known that AYN did it. And so since the Thor is here, let's go ahead and open up and unbox and take a look at it. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video, but I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about something sent to us by our friends at MechDiy. So they sent us over an amazing card. It is the Surwish 256 gigabyte card for your Miyu Mini Flip. That's right. If you want to have just a pre-set up experience with the games properly scraped with an amazing custom firmware that they created, then check out the link at the bottom here and get your own version of the Surwish OS for the Miyu Mini Flip. Now, I've been playing this and testing it out, and it has a bunch of awesome themes. It's got everything set up easy to go, and it is based on a version of CrossMix. So yes, this is awesome. I do highly recommend this. And again, if you already have the Flip, you can simply buy the card, or you can buy the card with the Flip itself. Again, hit the link at the bottom. We want to thank our friends at MechDiy for sending this over for us to look at and test. But yeah, this Surwish is awesome. Also, check out the open source firmware at the GitHub. If you would want to set it up yourself, you can do that as well. Anyways, back to the show. All right, so it is here, guys. So I'm so excited. So we see on the side here I did do DHL as I stated, and no tariffs. So nothing that I had to pay. Again, that doesn't mean it won't happen to you. The real truth is nobody knows. But DHL delivers. This thing was shipped Tuesday night. It's in my hands Friday. So it came fast. I think it was worth it. So I'm glad I got it. Opening up, and oh, we see the beautiful box. And it is a beautiful box. And we get this packaging out of the way. And the first thing I notice is this little tab down here. So that's a nice little tab. Looking at the package, it's got a picture of Thor on the front. We do have on the side here the colorways and model numbers. So we did get the Clear Purple Pro, which is the 12 gigabyte RAM and the 256 gigabyte internal storage, along with your micro SD card expansion. Nothing much on the back or sides, but pulling this little tab, oh, look at that. We get that nice magnetic lift. And we lift in, and what do we see is greeting us right in the front is a package of little cards. So taking these out and taking a look, and this card is in English and in Chinese, and it says top screen specs, bottom screen specs, lanyard loop, and then we have some deeper specs comparing the base Pro and Max and the Lite. Now the Lite has a Snapdragon 865, the same CPU we saw in the Retroid Pocket 5 and the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. And then we have some safety tips. And kids, I think it's right. Don't ever throw the battery into a fire or water. I'm glad they let us know that. Thanks, AYN. Let's get these back in here. It's nice, a little sleeve. It's easy. It's right there. I like this. I dig that. That is a good kind of manual. Taking this top off, and oh, we have the unit right there. Let's move that under the way. And I did get purple. Now, purple was a little contentious. They added a glass top on the front. Everybody loves glass. I'm not going to lie. I like the glass. I think it feels great and premium. On the RG476H, I love the glass. But having transparent is, doesn't really mesh well with, having a glass top. So there was, if you didn't want to see the ribbon, if you didn't want to see the transparent on the back and the purple, they did give this so that you can go in and hide the cable, the ribbon cable. I don't, personally, I'm not going to use this, but I guess it's a nice thought. Going below, we do have a box here. And like Brad Pitt said in the movie Seven,
what's in the box?
what is in the box? Well, let's open it up and find out. And it's AYN cable. These are great cables. The cable for my Thor has been a workhorse. I love it. My Thor. My Portal has been a workhorse. I love it. So that's what's in the box there. Nothing else underneath here. And let's get this handheld out and take a look at it. I am so excited, guys. So put all this back. And put the box over here. And let's get the handheld out and let's take a first look at it. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video, but I wanted to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor and our partner, AliExpress. And specifically, I wanted to talk about 3D printers. 3D printers are awesome now, and I have lately been using them quite a bit. We know in our hobby there's a lot of grips that we like to buy, and Etsy has some excellent ones, but you could also make them at home, just like this one I made with the Flash Forge printer. Now, the Flash Forge comes in two different varieties, a cheaper open frame or a little bit more expensive enclosed frame Pro model. Check out the codes at the bottom of my page here and check out the Flash Forge printers so you can get a great deal. These are fantastic units that work very well and help me create all kinds of really cool grips with the printable STL files, usually free online somewhere. Anyways, we want to thank AliExpress as always for being our partner. Remember to hit that link, and back to the show. Okay, taking the handheld out. And I want to say, for those of you that have held a Retroid Pocket Flip 2, this thing is almost identical with better plastic. It feels better. The plastic on this feels a little bit better. I don't know how they did it, but it feels a step above. It also feels a little more rounded than the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. So if you've actually held a Flip 2 and wanted to know what the difference is, it's just a little heavier, a little bit bigger. It feels better, and boy, it just feels good in the hands. Now, one of the things I did notice in the first 24 hours of using this is on the Retroid Pocket Flip, they did have color matching triggers along with the texture. Now, the color matching made the triggers a little hard to see, a little incognito. So I kind of like that these are black to match the buttons. However, this is smooth. There's smooth triggers. There's no texture on the top. Kind of wish it had texture. But boy, oh boy, picking this thing up, I immediately felt comfortable because this has been a daily driver for me for some time now. Opening it up, and it is just stunning in person. Now, this glass front is very controversial. I'll admit it. The glass front is, I don't know. I like it at times. At other times, it bothers me. If you look at where the buttons are, you can see transparency through the buttons. So in a way, it's kind of neat. Kind of like how that Pal Kitty handheld had that little window where it was see-through. So I do kind of like that. I like the glass. I'm a glass guy, so I really think it's great. These two screens are stunning. But I wanted to focus this review on the first 24 hours, my experiencing. So setting this thing up is pretty much like setting up previous handhelds from AYN. It runs you through the same setup screen, which is very familiar if you've ever owned any of the AYN handhelds. Now, the build quality on this and the hinge, I have no doubt that the hinge is improved. The hinge is not loud. It has several positions, and it seems to be very well done. And you can see the ribbon cable in here as you do it. So there is a concern where if you have it closed, you can see there is a big space. And I don't know if putting pressure on that could cause a problem. I don't recommend sitting on this, but it could be in your pocket. And so I do think that could be a concern. So again, this is a first 24 hours video. The hinge seems fine, but long term will tell. The buttons are your typical buttons from AYN, the sticks, the D-pad. It's the same thing we've seen. I'm not going to go over that. It feels great in the hands. The hand size is great. Now let's talk about some things here that I discovered. For one, we do have the power and volume button on the bottom here. Now, it reminds me of Magic X, who was one of the first handhelds I ever used that had a power button on the bottom. It's sort of an awkward place. I'm not a huge fan of that. However, with all of the limited space and keeping this thing in the size it is, I understand that they had to make some compromises. Your volume rocker is also there. Now, I want to tell you something really cool and neat about this. AYN has really been working with the software to improve this, along with a lot of third-party developers. But we have independent sound, and that sound can be controlled from the touchscreen pressing the AYN button. So as you can see here, I'll show a little clip where I was able to independently change the sound, including turning the screen off on the bottom where I could listen while playing a game up top. Check out this clip. Because we do know that running with the Rockchip 3326 does give it the ability to run a bunch of custom firmware. If you really love the form factor of the Mini 1, 2, 3, and 4. However, we're hesitant about not being able to really want. And with its lack of a GPU and limited support for custom firmware, it did have Onion OS, probably one of the best at the time custom firmware out there. Isn't that amazing? I think that's really great. Now, is this just plug and play? There's a little bit of work you're going to have to do to set this thing up. And I'm not the guide guy. Russ is the GOAT of guides. Joey has great guides. There's a lot of great guides out there, different retro handhelds. So that's not me. But go out there and find you a guide. But I wish it was plug and play. I do like handhelds like that. So you're going to have to do a little work. If this is the first handheld, if you haven't been in this scene and you go, oh, wow, I love the 3DS. Look at that. There's a new 3DS. I can imagine you might not be prepared for what you have to do for this. So that being said, to get some of the dual screen games running, as I show you some footage here from 3DS, I did have to tinker with a little bit of the settings, and there are a lot of developers out there trying to work with things to get it set up great. But once I got it going, oh my, 3DS, 3DS with the bottom screen and top screen separated, playing, feeling great. The only thing missing here is a stylus. Although you can use a stylus, I guess. I don't know. I didn't try the stylus yet, but it doesn't come with a stylus. And it just looks beautiful. We've got a 120 hertz OLED screen on top, a 60 hertz OLED screen on bottom, and that OLED screen on the bottom is the one that I fell in love with the original LG Snowcake, way back when, which is the LG Wing, which is actually that beautiful screen on the Retroid Pocket Classic. So we're seeing a great combination of screens, software that is optimized out of the box to work together, but a setup and learning curve. So I did want to say that in the first 24 hours I had to learn this. Now, some other things I discovered is they did put plenty of buttons on this thing so you can do a lot of hotkeys and things like that. They are still working to improve a lot of different solutions. Gamma is going to get one of these, I've heard, and boy, I cannot wait for Gamma to get a hold of this because he will fix all the things that I didn't even know were wrong. So that's what makes Gamma OS so awesome, because there's things I wouldn't even notice. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, how cool is that? I loved being able, as I show you here, to be able to play Mario and on the bottom screen pull up a FAQ, a game FAQ, to follow through, a walkthrough. In the first 24 hours with this, I have fallen in love with this. I will be the first to admit that sometimes I'm a little easy to please, but let me say that there are very few things on this that I've found difficult to not like. The setup process and learning process is a curve, but it's not a big curve. I don't particularly care for the placement of the power and volume buttons. I am still iffy on the glass front. I like it, but I kind of miss the see-through look of my Retroid Pocket Flip too. I love the size of this. I love the weight of this. I think that this is a great value. I don't think if you want to save money and do the Snapdragon 865, I think that's going to be fine for 3DS and 2DS. But man, there's so much more to explore on this. We can do so much more if you bump up and you get one of the regular models that has that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. The battery life on this thing in the first day seemed pretty good. It didn't warm up. That's not surprising since we've seen this same CPU in many form factors. The fan is not overly loud. The rumble on it is pretty decent, although I think it's a little weak. And the lighting controls are pretty nice. I'm going to do a lot more with this. I'm going to do a full actual review of this in the coming weeks. I'm going to do more content because there's so much to learn here, so much to try, that there's not anything I could do in just one day to try to get all this in here. But my initial impressions are this thing is great. I am ready to let go of some other handhelds that I've been holding on to because I think I'm going to play this a whole lot more. The only question in my mind is, when are we going to see a Loki? Huh, AYN? Put a Loki? Put a, x86 in this form factor? That'd be great. Remember to hug your loved ones and love your hugged ones, because tomorrow is never promised. We'll see you next time, Deadheads. Dead Fred out.